Peace be with you, dear sisters and brothers. Welcome to The Bright Side. I'm Andre Archer and she's Beatrice de Cruz.
Yes, here on The Bright Side, we invite you to share your faith stories so that we too can be inspired to live a life filled with more purpose and joy, deeper faith and brighter hope. And these leads us to deepen our relationship with Christ.
Indeed. Now, today's Bright Side episode really is part of a collaborative series that we have with Catholic Family Life. And here in the studio, you can see that we have someone who is well known and actually needs no introduction. Brian Richmond. Brian.
Ooh.
Hi.
It is such a privilege.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you for coming.
To have you in the studio, my goodness.
Wow.
Really, honestly, thank you so much. Now, Brian is really someone who's been really, really passionate about the work that he's been doing all these years. He's very rich in knowledge of music, and he's now actively actually on VintageRadio as a presenter and a lot of other things as well there. And Brian's been really, for me, a very good friend and a mentor. The years that we were in MediaCorp together, or SBC.
Right.
Actually.
Good memories, Andre.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. So really a privilege to have you with us. And we just want to start off with, when did you realize actually that you were, gifted and had this passion for radio and music?
I didn't know at that time they called it a gift.
Indeed.
I just liked, the profession.
Right.
And I just wanted to be part and parcel of it all. And so I pursued my dreams. Yeah, I thought about it, decided that I think I'd like to be on radio. That's how it all started. And even before that, I was doing some work in a discotheque.
Right.
All right. And we're talking about the boiler room at the Mandarin Hotel.
Ah.
All right. And because I wanted to be part of it, I went to a couple of sessions and I said, wow, I like the music, because I was raised on rock.
Wow.
Yeah. One of those wild fellas. And I asked my friend, he's a lawyer. Edmund Pereira.
Oh, yes.
Sounds familiar?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Criminal lawyer Edmund.
Yes.
He was doing part-time DJing at the boiler room
Wow.
at that time.
Okay.
We're talking about 1970, 71.
Wow.
So I said, I'll go down and have a word with him and ask him to, can you recommend me? I'd like to do this kind of work.
Right.
So he did. And next thing I found myself doing part-time work as a disco DJ.
Wow.
In this club we call the Boiler Room. And then that's how it all started. But of course, with radio, it's different because I applied to be a part-time disc jockey on radio, doing the weekend shifts and all that. And then, of course, the interest grew and grew. But at the same time, I was a little, I was a little sort of, you must excuse me.
No problem.
Yeah, because I'm now 76.
All good.
So I was disillusioned. I was disillusioned because there were more don'ts than do's.
So your creativity was cramped, sort of.
Yeah. Fortunately, I had another gig that was offered to me at Rediffusion.
I was about to ask you that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I may have done something good when I was with Radio Singapore because they never checked me about, doing work on Rediffusion.
Right.
Either that or they were too stupid to know that. This fella is doing some work on Rediffusion. So I was doing about a shift a week on Rediffusion and then a weekend shift on radio.
On radio.
Yeah.
Was Radio 1 at that time, was it?
Not even Radio 1.
Not
was
even Radio 1?
Singapore.
Wow. Okay.
Right? And but when I started, you won't believe, I was on the first stereo FM station.
Wow.
Nice.
That's a big deal at that
which
time.
Which is 92.4.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first musical, the first a classical music station in Singapore.
That's
Yes.
correct.
It was the
92.4.
idea of Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Goh Keng Swee.
Wow, at that time, huh?
Right. So
Wow.
everybody was, scared about being on radio because you get picked up almost every other day. There's a report that comes in. No? This
Yes.
guy, he didn't present his music well enough. And but of course, that lasted only 3 months. That lasted only 3 months for me because what happened was I was on duty one Sunday and I was really tired after, a discotheque night the
Right,
night before.
right.
And then next morning there was some painting to be done. And then my wife told me, hey, Dal, you better get going. You're on the 2:00 shift,
Oh, my word.
the afternoon matinee.
Oh,
Wow.
goodness.
So I went on and did the music and all that.
Yeah.
And I was so tired
Yeah.
that after a while, I fell asleep.
Oh, my
I fell
goodness.
asleep, and those days they were playing
That's
vinyls.
right, the vinyls,
Yeah.
yes.
Right, and
I
then
remember.
so this record ended. The record ended, and it was going. And there is Mr. Richmond sleeping,
Oh, my
and
goodness.
the technician came running in. Brian, hey, your record finish. Sorry. Set the next one, went off, and I say, oh dear, finish,
Wow.
What was from the radio control room these guys must have run?
Yeah, they were,
MCR.
They were monitoring, and
Yeah.
so that was it. I was caught with my pants down. And next morning, Stephen Lee called me.
Oh,
You
my
remember good
dear
old
Stephen, of
Lee.
course. Bless his soul.
He called me and he said, hey, Brian, what happened? I said, sorry, Steve. I fell asleep. Then 1 week later, he called me again. So I said, hey, Steve, by the way, so many reasons why, I just can't be doing that duty and all that.
Mm.
So I said, any chance of getting back to commercial radio? Which is Radio 1.
Right.
Or should I say, at that time, it was Radio Singapore.
That's right.
Later, it became Radio 1.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what happened. They took a couple of weeks. And then Stephen called me. He said, okay, Brian, you're on.
Wow.
Wow.
So I was transferred.
Fantastic.
So that was, and then so I went on from there. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from being a radio DJ, aside from the presentation skills and all
Yes.
that. You have to learn to pronounce,
Absolutely.
enunciate, and
That's
things like that. And we were under training of Mr. David Cole. Let me see. David something, but he's from the BBC.
Right. Yeah, we had BBC trainers at that time.
Right. And so they trained us.
Yeah.
They trained us in so many aspects of broadcasting, apart from the training in speech and delivery and all that. There were lots of other things as well, like an interview.
Yes.
The correct way to interview.
Yes.
Like, when you ask a question, that's it. Keep it to one question. Because if you listen to a lot of interviews these days, you'll get a guy asking you a question and then add it on second, third, maybe even fourth. All four questions all roll into one for you to answer. After you answer the first one, you can't even remember the second one.
you
know?
can't remember your name, huh?
Yeah. So things like that. These are the do's and don'ts
Absolutely.
in broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So from there, it's just making your way forward. That's all.
Absolutely.
In life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brian, I have to ask you, because you mentioned about being so tired at one point of time. So what keeps your fire for radio and music burning? And, you've faced challenges like fatigue, burnout, I'm sure, a lot of other challenges. So what keeps you going?
I think in the old days, when I was young, I could go on and on and on, despite the fact that I'm working like 24 hours a day. I can still go on.
Absolutely.
But these days, especially, when I was offered to do work on VintageRadio, I decided to call it a day, where radio was concerned because I was doing the Sunday show.
Right. Yes.
Vintage. Yeah. Vintage Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vintage
so-
Sunday, was it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I thought about it, I was doing like 5 days a week on Vintage Radio, 4-hour shift.
Right.
And then on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 12 noon,
Wow.
I was on the radio side,
Right.
and presenting the show Vintage Sunday.
Right.
That's right. And all along, I was trying to remember the title of that program, believe it or not. And so, because I thought about it, I said, I'm not young anymore. Because, okay, I enjoy the work,
Yeah.
but there comes a time when you feel really fatigued.
Yes.
Yeah, like, feel my body aching. I can't continue like this,
Right. Right.
And of course, because I have a choice,
Sure.
I've decided either I forget about Vintage Radio
Right.
and continue with Vintage Showcase.
Right.
And so I decided to give Vintage Showcase a good night call, and that's it. I've had enough.
Yeah.
And funny enough, when I decided to call it a day, and I announced it on air.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. You won't believe this. The newsroom from TV Singapore.
Yeah.
Okay, the newsroom called me. No, they called me just to confirm that I left, you see. And at night, that very Sunday night, it was on TV.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Just to confirm that, Brian
right.
Richmond has retired.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
And then Adinio from the Straits Times. The next day called me. He said, hey, can I come and interview you? So he did. On a Wednesday, he came by the office and I gave him an interview.
Right.
Which was good. It got the whole industry shuffling their feet and all that. Hey, guess who? Guess who resigned? Those were good days, sir.
I'm sure,
It
Brian.
shows that people recognize you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, the years of experience that you have, and I mean, for me to personally just see just that little bit that I saw, and I had that opportunity to be with you and to be your producer as well. That was for me also a great privilege, really, and I learned so much from
You
you.
were one of the best news readers on radio. And
Thank
for
you,
that
Brian.
matter, even on TV as well,
Thank you.
But of course, I remember how
I learned
you
from the
started.
best.
Oh, thank you so much.
Brian, I just have to ask you, the world of entertainment and music is so intertwined. And, sometimes keeping values becomes very difficult. Share with us a little bit how you managed to keep true to yourself.
In terms of what?
Your own values, it's so easy to get off the beaten path,
Right. Okay, if you're talking about the rough and tumble days, where I could easily have gone left or extremely right.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a question of thinking about your passion. Why are you there for? And especially if you're a Catholic.
Yeah.
Right? I was born a Catholic.
Right.
Although some people say that's not the way it should be. You were born, yes, but then you were baptized a Catholic.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, but for me, I was born a Catholic, and so as I grew up, and I grew up in a boarding school.
Yes.
St. Patrick's. So along the way, you learn certain things.
Yeah.
You become true to yourself, and you keep true to yourself.
Yeah.
And make sure that you walk the right path.
Correct.
Especially when it comes to right or wrong.
Yeah.
Then it's a question of, you just think about it. Would you want to do it? No? Good. Okay. But if you want to do it, why? What's the purpose?
Right.
So this is how you actually dabble with your conscience.
Right.
And make sure that whatever you do, don't go against your better judgment.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the way I keep true to myself.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And that's for today. I mean, there's so many distractions, and people are very easily waylaid in that sense, right? And many youth also, in entertainment, find that these distractions really actually just lead them way off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love how you said that you were born a Catholic, like you're born a Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not easy to hold true to these values that you have also. And so in your career in broadcast and entertainment, do you ever face discrimination? Or have you ever been ostracized because of certain decisions that you decided to take that were not popular, perhaps?
Well, fortunately for me, I've never faced that, situation. Because if I want something done, I get it done.
Right.
There's no two ways about it, And Mr. Richmond, don't fool around with me. That's the way I look at things.
Right.
And so I'm very determined to do whatever I want, and if I think that is right, I will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing's going to change my mind, and I'm not going to be changing my mind to the right, to the left. That means you can't decide what you want in life.
That's true.
So once you decide, okay, this is the way it is, and it is against my principle, if I were to go against it, then I won't do that. I'll drop it.
Correct.
So I continue, and I follow, my heart.
Yeah.
And follow whatever, comes to my head. And if I decide that is the correct thing to do, I will do it. Yeah, nothing's going to change my mind for you. Sounds like a song, right?
Absolutely. Nothing's going to change my love for you.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Well, if you've just joined us today on the bright side, we have Brian Richmond, and who has been sharing about how he has remained true to his passion, and you can tell he's very determined also to remain true to his principles. And he also brings his experience as a presenter at Vintage Radio.
So, Brian, it doesn't seem like, you're letting up, although you officially announced your retirement and all of that. You're a presenter at Vintage Radio, and like I said, you do so much more. And I've had the great privilege also of you turning the tables on me and interviewing me some time ago.
Oh, yes.
So I enjoyed that as well. But, share with us a little bit more of what else you are doing to keep up your passion for music and for entertainment.
Well, no problems with my passion for music. It's always there.
Right.
Whether I'm on radio or not, I just love music, right? And I like all kinds of music, including classical music, because you forgot I had training in classical music.
That's right.
And I grew to love it,
Really, yeah?
and I began to understand certain, plays and pieces.
Absolutely.
And I understand, like, for example, how to pronounce the names of those composers and things like that. So if you go in and if you've not presented, classical music in your life, chances are you're going to slip and tumble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But for me, no problem.
Wonderful.
Whatever situation you put me in, because of my situation way back in those early years, so that helped. And on the outside, at that time, if you remember, I said I was into rock music.
Right.
Right? Like Deep Purple,
Wow.
Uriah Heep.
Wow.
And Black Sabbath and things like that and all that. Those were the days. I grew up with these music and of course the rest in between. I enjoy jazz.
Yeah.
I enjoy, Latin music and things like that.
Wow.
And I pick up along the way, that
Right.
as a disc jockey, you've got to love the music and not say,
Absolutely.
I will only play rock music.
Yeah.
then you become a one-sided DJ. And if people don't like your music, you're finished.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you had this wide genre of music which you enjoyed.
Yes. And I'm a big collector of records,
You still have vinyl at home, I'm sure.
Yes, but of late, I've been heartbroken because I had to give away a lot of these vinyls.
I can imagine.
Because of shifting house.
Yeah,
I had too many, and I had no choice. I had to give them away.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
But now you're also helping organizations as well with the music and the passion that. Tell us a little bit about that.
A number of events. Yeah. From the community service.
You always used to be an events person as well.
Yes. There was a time when, you'll get people calling on you. That's because of your reputation.
Yeah.
And so they will call you and say, "Hey, Mr. Richmond, we are having a party in the month of September. Could you please come and host it for us?"
Right.
So you decide. Do you have the time? You want to do it? I'll do it.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
So I enjoy it. It's not something that you're doing, begrudgingly and all that.
Absolutely.
I'll do it, and I enjoy doing it. So no two ways. But now the next thing that's coming up,
Right.
which is very important for me because I started this.
Right.
It is an event called. Would you know that?
The Good Times?
No.
Rolling Good Times?
No,
is that
I'm putting you to a test. It's Down Memory Lane.
Down Memory Lane?
Yes. And this started way back in the year 2000.
Wow.
And I was doing it for a Family Life Society.
Okay. That far back?
Yes.
Wow.
And of course, now they are known as is the Catholic Family Life. All right.
Wow.
And one reason, of course, why I've helped them all these years is because my wife is there. She's a family therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had no choice. Dal, you better do it or else. No. She helped me a lot,
I'm sure.
in putting the show together. And I did because it brought back a lot of memories. Because this is an event where you bring back all these old singers, entertainers,
and then, real talent,
Yes.
And local talent at that, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll bring back all these old bands and all that to perform. And from the very first day we organized Down Memory Lane, it was at the Dal. Yeah, it was at the Orchid Country Club.
Oh, wow.
That was the very first event that we organized. And then, immediately after the show was over, we had all these guys coming up to us to say, "Hey, Brian, when is the next show?" They're already asking when's the next show. So the next show came 2 years later.
Wow.
2 years later, another one. And then another 2 years, another one. And we organized, before you know it, we organized about five of these shows,
Wow.
And they were all very well attended.
Wow.
So coming up, we have got, I can't remember how many, but we've got the crowd.
Wonderful.
As a matter of fact, we've sold out the tables, right?
The Down Memory Lane that's coming up in September.
That's right. The 24th of August. 24th,
Wow.
24th
That is not far off.
Yep, but everything's in place.
Yeah.
Everything's in place. All the artists are in place, and they're all rehearsing like hell. And we just had a meeting this morning, and everybody's looking forward to getting there to perform,
Wow.
At the same time, we are doing something good.
I'm sure. And for you, personally, what does that do for you? Just getting to meet all the people, as you said.
Yeah. What happens is, ultimately, you'll be meeting up with old folks. When I say old folks, they are not from the old folks' home.
I hope not.
These
I
were
don't think
guys
so.
who were having a good fling
Yeah.
when they were at the height of their
Careers, huh?
Of their careers. They all come by and everybody wants to have a good time. They want to see how the old singers look like today and things like that, and surprise themselves because these guys can certainly perform.
Wonderful.
It's just that as time goes by,
Yeah.
they tend to be forgotten.
That's sad.
So that's the reason why when we organize something like Down Memory Lane,
Right.
you get people all coming, buying tickets, and everybody wants to be there to watch these veterans
Yeah.
perform. So,
really, these are the veterans.
Right.
And you on some of your programs, you used to feature some of these veterans, their songs. You used to interview them
Yes.
as well.
I've got a local corner for
That's
sure.
right.
Whether I do it on radio or whether
Right.
I do it on VintageRadio SG,
Right.
I will definitely have a spotlight on our local talents.
Yeah.
So I'll be featuring people like Vernon Cornelius
Yes.
and the Quests
Yeah.
and Susan Lim and the Crescendos and
All
the
those
Thunderbirds and all that,
The Thunderbirds still around?
No more.
Oh, sadly.
Unfortunately. Otherwise, I'll be...
I used to love the guitar playing.
Yes, Harvey Fitzgerald,
Yes.
right? Wonderful.
Oh,
and
my.
the singer as well, the lead singer.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Remember?
It's a test of the brain, Mr. Richmond.
Now, might you tell us later after you
Yes,
think about it?
for sure.
Okay, I'm going to jump right in and say that, like, as you've been sharing also, I mean, you're a veteran yourself, and the young people today want to ask for your advice too. So I'm going to do that on your behalf and ask you, for those who are in the process of finding their passions and trying to turn their passion into something life-giving and sustainable, what advice would you have for our youth today?
When they come to me, how old would I be? How old would I be?
How old would you be? Yeah?
Very old?
I mean, now, as you are.
Oh, as I am.
As
Okay,
you are.
fine. You are in a position to give advice.
Yes.
Because you've lived life, all right? And you've also made a lot of mistakes along the way. So, you learn and you live. And along the way, when somebody asks you for a particular piece of advice and all that, you are in a position to give. And for me, follow your passion. If you like something, if you want to do something, do it, right? And keep going for it and don't give up.
Yeah.
Because there are people, I want to be this or I want to do that, And then they find that there are a lot of obstacles. But what happens is these obstacles are stopping them from achieving whatever they want. And so they give up.
Yeah.
That's where you fail.
Right.
Don't ever give up. Chase your dreams. Chase your dreams and go for it. And I'm sure you'll get it, like me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to give up some of the things that I wanted to do and I was stopped way back when, I'll be a nobody. I'll be a nobody and not
frustrated.
achieving.
You would have been.
I would have been very frustrated, unless, of course, if you've got no sense of worth. If you think nothing of yourself.
Yeah.
But if you think highly of yourself in the sense that you want to do something respectably,
Yes.
and I want to achieve that, that is your goal. Go for it. Keep on fighting and make sure that you get it in one way or another. If you can't get it today, there's always another year ahead.
Correct.
So
Correct.
you have goals set for yourself.
Absolutely. Brian, very recently, in fact, just a few years ago, the Holy Father, Pope Francis, instituted Grandparents' Day and Elderly Day. I just want to ask you.
He's coming to see me, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he definitely is. He definitely is. But, I want to ask you, there's so many of us, who are already becoming seniors. I'm already a senior as well.
No, you don't say, Andre.
I'm telling you. So it's a milestone for us. But how would you encourage those who, feel that, age has caught up with me and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. They just want to stay by themselves and not be as active as they used to be. What would you like to say to them?
That's the day when you are headed, for life, God only knows where.
Right.
Because the thing is, you must have a goal in your life and keep on looking for more opportunities.
Right.
Right? And as long as you're alive, hey, give yourself reason to live.
Absolutely.
Give yourself reason to live. Exercise, yeah? Even if you can't run, walk.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
do the simple things.
Right.
And more important is give yourself reason to live. Very important.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, the thing is, we have learnt so much from you, Brian, as well. And through your, all your, work that you've been doing, what would you like to say to, for those who wish to, maybe rediscover this love for music and all that, but they say, oh, no, I can't dance or I can't sing and all of that.
No,
what would you say to them?
Of all the things that they encourage the old folks to do, especially when you're old and when you're retired and all this, the one thing you should pursue is music. Right?
You heard that, your sisters and brothers?
It's a secret.
This is something you should do because I'll tell you why, especially people with dementia and things like that.
Right.
And I just interviewed this guy whose mother is Nona Aisha. She's a legend in the field of Malay music.
Yeah,
Nona
she sounds familiar. Yeah.
Right. From the old days, and even before the days of P. Ramlee.
Before P. Ramlee?
Yes. Or just about the same.
Okay.
They were there.
Wow.
She's got dementia today.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I just interviewed him just last Wednesday. And so I asked her, how is she? He said, dementia, Brian. Poor thing,
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? Whenever they play one of her songs,
Right.
she bursts into joy.
Wow.
And she sings along. She remembers all the words.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It is. And you can ask any doctor, especially those dealing with some of these old folks and all that.
Yeah.
They will tell you that it is music that keeps them alive.
Really, yeah.
So music is the secret, right? But the moment you just stay home and fret and stay home and not do anything, that's the end of you.
Right.
But if you keep singing, you will live for as long as you want, as long as your songs can remind you of all these wonderful memories.
Actually, joy is really in the heart when you can sing, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right, and even if you're a horrible singer, but you can just hum along, music takes you far, far.
That's why a
really.
lot of these groups, when they get together to see to those who have dementia or things like that, they get them to sing. They get them to sing and they can see the difference after that session,
Fantastic.
And they start looking forward to that session.
Wonderful.
If it's like 135, they'll be looking forward to that 135, Wonderful. It's really, it's so nice to actually watch them.
Yeah, I'm sure. And so, Brian, thank you so much. This is all the time, really. We have,
so short?
But really, we're so privileged to have you here on Catholic SG Radio. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
We've really learned so much. Again, as always, the pearls of wisdom that you share, and just the laughter and the joy that you have within yourself, and we can see that, and you shared it with so many people for so many years, and I'm sure you're going to continue doing that for many more years in your own way.
Yep.
Right? In your own way.
For sure.
And that's all really we can say. Thank you so much for being a gem, really, to all of us.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so just a reminder, if you're tuning in right now, The Bright Side is broadcasted every alternate Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Encore is on the same day, 8 p.m. and the next day at 5 p.m. Also, you can catch this on podcast, share it with a friend or family member. You can catch this all on Catholic SG Radio app as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely. And you can also catch this on our YouTube channel. So, yep, it's not just audio, you'll also watch it on video. I'm Andrea Chuck, she's Beatrice de Cruz, he's Brian Richmond.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. God bless and love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.